Well, hey there, guys. Greetings and a most heartfelt of salutations to all of you. Welcome back to the channel for this newest installment of Open Mic. It's a brand new kind of open mic, and I'll explain how we're doing it a little bit different here in just a second. Just want to check with you guys, as I often do when I'm doing the show solo. I got nobody else here to check it. Just if you guys don't mind telling me in the live chat there if we are visually and audio wise, if you can see and hear me. Michael Gonzalez is saying audio and video is good. Thank you so much for the heads up, Michael. And away we go. So yeah, today marks the beginning of a new era, if you will, of, well, sort of new and sort of old, of open mic. You know, I've been having a lot of you guys write into me over the last couple of months saying that you kind of missed the mailbag style. And what I mean by that is when we do open mics or mailbag or something like that, that the way we have been doing it is that you can only send in a question to be answered if you are watching live. And there's some real advantages to that, like the live interaction of it and everything is pretty good. But unfortunately means that unless you're watching the show live, you can't send in a question. And the way we used to do it back in the old days of mailbag was that we had a tip link that you could click on anytime, 24/7, and send in a question. So I got on the community tab the other day and I asked the community, I said, would you prefer us doing open mic, the live question style or the older mailbag style? And overwhelmingly 75% to 25%, you guys voted for the mailbag style. And so, yes, so here's what we are going to do. We have a bunch of you guys already sent in a ton of questions. We're going to go through those. And then once we go through all the questions, I'm just going to go to the live chat board, to all you guys already in the live chat board. And before we finish things off here today, I'm just going to take some comments and questions from you guys in the live chat board as well. Now, also, just a heads up, in case some of you guys sent in a question to the tip link in the last, say, hour and a half or so, it won't be answered on this episode of Open Mic. It'll probably be answered on tomorrow's episode of Open Mic because we had to pull the questions together and get them ready to present. So don't panic if you sent in a question in the last hour or 90 minutes and you don't see it on today's show. It just means it's going to be carried over and answered on tomorrow's show. Yeah. So I think that does it. I think we are all set and ready to rock and roll. So let us stop wasting time and jump into the live questions here, shall we? Well, they're not live questions. The questions you guys have sent in. By the way, in case you guys don't know how you send in a question now for open mic to be answered, just go to the tip link, which is at www.streamelements.com/John Campea/tip. And that's where you also leave your comment. By the way, guys, don't forget to leave your name because if you're going to tip and support the channel and send in a fun question, I want to make sure you guys get a shout out. And I know oftentimes people forget to fill in their name, so it just comes across as anonymous. And I want to make sure you guys get a shout out. So with all that down, let's get into it here. We're going to start things off here with, where are we at? We are at LM Mindset, who tipped in like $20. Thank you, LMM. Appreciate that, man. And he wrote, Deborah Ann Wool was on the Inside of You podcast, which is Michael Rosenbaum's podcast. It's really good. Not too long ago, where she stated that she has not heard or got a call from Disney about returning to Daredevil. I guess this means she's not in it. Of course, Deborah Ann Wool is the actress who plays Karen in the Daredevil series, or at least the old Netflix Daredevil series. And yeah, I don't know if you caught it, Mindset, but we talked about this last week. The Hollywood Reporter did a story about John Bernthal coming back to play Punisher, but in that same story, it wasn't in the headline, but in that same story, Hollywood Reporter also mentioned that I can't remember the actor's name who played Foggy, but Foggy is not returning. And also on top of that, the Wall, Deborah Ann Wool, who plays Karen, is also not returning. And now they weren't really sure whether that means their characters are not going to be in the show at all, like whether the show is just not going to have Foggy and not have Karen. I don't know how you do a Daredevil series without Foggy and Karen, but whatever. Or if they're going to recast them. Now, shortly after that, I think it was yesterday we talked about that the actress who played Vanessa, Kingpin's main squeeze in the Daredevil series, is also not returning, and they have recast that role. They've recast the role. So a new actress is going to be playing Vanessa. So yeah, that's completely consistent with the fact that Deborah Ann Wall mentioned that she was not going to be returning there. So yep, is what it is. I know that's upset some people, but let's see how it turns out. All right. Thanks a lot for that, LM Mindset. Appreciate that. Next up, Matt writes, "Hey, John, I respected how Kimmel brought up Till and the Woman King during the Oscars. I did too, since they weren't nominated. Thoughts? Also, we got some great UFC fights this weekend. Who you got in Usman versus Edwards?" Well, quickly, just with the UFC fight, let's be honest. In the first Usman versus Edwards fight, let's just call it what it is. Usman kicked Edwards' ass the whole fight. And this is why fights are great, because there was, in the final round, Edwards pulled this miracle rabbit out of the hat and hit Usman with a beautiful head kick and knocked him out. And that was thrilling and exciting and crazy. But let's not pretend that Usman didn't thoroughly whip his ass the entire fight up until that point. So if I was putting any money on this fight, I would believe that Usman is going to win his belt back, because I didn't see anything from Edwards other than that rabbit out of a hat head kick at the end. I didn't see anything out of Edwards that even remotely suggested that he can hang with Usman. So barring another miracle fluke kick or fluke punch, Usman's going to take back his title probably fairly easily. Now, that being said, so movies like Till, The Woman King, no nominations. And listen, I get it. I mean, there was a lot of great films and every single category was completely stacked. But I did love the fact that there were some excellent films that didn't get nominated, and they at least gave those films through the host a shout out. I thought that was a really good move. I like that a lot, because those films are great. Those movies are great. All right, next up. Orange Hand writes, "Could a network making a fantasy show get away with having a title sequence that directly lifts the stylized map of Game of Thrones with the locations and music changed? Can HBO even have a copyright on a specific style of animation or design like that?" Well, let's be very clear. I do not believe that Game of Thrones wasn't the first show to come up with this abstract, conceptualized, artistic kind of opening with all that kind of stuff. Other shows have done stuff like that. Not always maps, but basically the question is, can another show do an opening with maps? And I think they already have, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure I'm trying to think of what it was, but I'm pretty sure they've already done stuff like that. So yeah, as long as it was a different map and as long as it's different music, then you can't copyright maps. So yes, I would expect other shows could do that if they so choose and if they wanted to. All right, thanks a lot, Orange Hand. Next up, L. Adrian writes, "John, what's good? I'm doing good, thank you. I just watched Argo last night." Oh, good for you, man. I love that movie. I just watched Argo last night for the first time, and Jesus, I may like Affleck more as a director than an actor. I'm super stoked for his next film, Air. Now catch up on The Town and Gone Baby Gone. Listen, I'm telling you. People, I said a few weeks ago, we were talking about Air a few weeks ago, and I mentioned that I think Ben Affleck is one of the best directors in the business right now. And I got a bunch of guffaws from people. John, did you say guffaw? Yes, I did. I got a bunch of guffaw from people when I said that, but he is. Listen, even, what was the name of the one he did? Was it called We Own the Night? It was either We Are the Night or We Own the Night or whatever. But while that was not as good as The Town or Gone Baby Gone or Argo, I still contend that was a pretty damn good movie. I mean, Rob and I talked about that last year. We Own the Night, or Live by Night. Thank you, EA. Live by Night. I still think that was a very good movie. I think overall was a very good movie. But he's done 4 films. Okay, Air's coming out, and I think Air looks fantastic. But The Town is awesome. Gone Baby Gone is awesome. Argo won Best Picture of the Year at the Academy Awards, and Live by Night, I think, is a very good movie. He's got nothing but wins on his resume. Ben Affleck is a fantastic director, which is one of the big reasons why I was like really, really excited and wanted to see him do a Batman movie. But I'm going to have to settle for Air, and Air looks great. So I can't wait to see that. Glad you're getting caught up on those, L. Adrian. Appreciate you writing in, man. Next up, we got Murray Reich, who writes, A month late to post my review, but John, you definitely don't want to see 80 for Brady. It's so stupid. It has some laughs, but overall it's a film you can watch if you are so bored sick. The whole ladies thing giving Brady inspiration is so lame and cheesy. Yeah, like, so for those of you who don't know why Murray's writing that to me, I am a big Tom Brady fan. Tom Brady is the GOAT of GOATs. It's undisputed. He is the GOAT of the NFL. That's just the way it is. He's the best. And I loved watching him play football. But I have had zero interest in watching 80 for Brady. And you know what the funny thing is? Like Rita Moreno and everybody, I love all the women in the movie. I love all of them. I love them all. Brady, obviously I love Brady. But I saw the trailers for 80 for Brady. And I like all of the people involved too much to watch something that looked that bad. So I made the choice to skip out on that one, and I do not regret it. So thank you, Murray, for writing in and affirming my decision to not watch 80 for Brady. I appreciate that very much. All right. Thanks a lot, Murray. Next up, we got L. Adrian again, who writes, "Hey, John, I'm a huge Green Lantern fan, and I'm seriously stoked for the new TV show, but I got to ask, do you think the 2011 Ryan Reynolds movie and it bombing led to us getting a TV show instead of a movie? Maybe the audience isn't ready to see Green Lantern again." No, I honestly don't think that had anything to do with it. You know what the funny thing is? I don't even think Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern is as bad as a lot of people, even Ryan Reynolds himself, say it is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's good. Don't misinterpret me. I'm not saying it's good. But I thought there was enough decent stuff in Green Lantern that made it not awful. Not good, but not awful. I mean, it's a poor movie. It was a disappointment, all that kind of stuff. They did some things in it that were really, really terrible. But there was some stuff in it that looked pretty good and I thought came across as pretty well. There were some good laughs, some good action, some creative ideas that they had in it. Overall, a poor movie, but not a dumpster fire. At least to me. Like, honestly, I think Green Lantern, like if you want to compare it to other Ryan Reynolds movies, and you know, I listen, I love Ryan Reynolds. He's sponsoring this show. But I mean, you got to call it what it is. I thought Green Lantern was better than Red Notice that he did with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I thought that movie was terrible. I mean, just terrible. And then let's not even talk about R.I.P.D. Let's not even go there. Like, I don't think Green Lantern was as bad as some other. It's definitely not the worst Ryan Reynolds film. Okay. And I say that with love. Ryan's my all-time favorite movie star and good Canadian kid and sponsor of this show, but he's got worse films than Green Lantern. Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So, but no, I mean, that movie was like 12 years ago. That movie was like 12 years ago. The audience doesn't care and doesn't remember. If James Gunn wanted a Green Lantern movie, they would have done a movie. But him and Peter Safran apparently had this idea for this true detective kind of thing with two Green Lanterns, and they think it works better as a series. And I honestly think that's why they're doing it. I don't think it has them not making it a movie is because they think this works best as a show. I really don't think the let's say, letdown of the first Green Lantern movie has anything to do with why they're doing that here. Good question, man. Next up. Murray Reich writes in again, says, "I saw Scream 6 and really enjoyed it. I was worried they weren't going to do something different, but boy, they did. The kills were gruesome, nice laugh, suspenseful. The characters were great. The last 20 minutes was poor, but overall a very good film. I hope Sydney returns." Listen, I didn't like Scream 6 as much as Scream 5, but I still had a good time. And listen, I've never been a Scream franchise guy. Like, I like the first Scream well enough, but I don't idolize it like a lot of people do. I didn't like Scream 2. I didn't like Scream 3. I didn't like Scream 4. And I had almost no expectations of Scream 5. And I had a really good time watching Scream 5. And while I don't think 6 was quite as good as 5, I had a very good time. I had it. Now, they still do a couple of things that drive me crazy. They do a few things in it that absolutely drive me crazy. One of the big things and this might come across as a minor spoiler for anybody out there, so be warned, a minor spoiler, but I'm sorry. This character gets stabbed 38 times, but 5 minutes later is back just limping a little bit. Oh, I'm okay. Or just like this one character literally gets knifed with this huge butcher knife, knifed right in the gut. And I think twice, right? 10 minutes later, they're walking around, no problem, just with their hand on their stomach. Oh, like everything's fine. Everything's good. Everything's okay. But the big thing to me, and I mentioned this on one of the shows the other day, the big thing to me, and this isn't just Scream, lots of other movies do this too. Lots of them. So this isn't just a Scream problem, but this one drives me nuts it drives me nuts. So whenever you get a bad guy chasing one of our heroes or heroines, and the heroine or the hero gets the drop on the bad guy and like hits them over the head with a chair, and the bad guy falls to the ground. You know what you do then? You go American History X style and Kirby stomp them. You start taking the heel of your boot and you start bashing them in the head. Or you pick up a piece of that chair and you continue to keep bashing them over the head until their feet stop twitching. That is what a normal, sane person would do. But what happens in everyone, and it's not just Scream, it's tons of them. What happens in all these movies? The hero or heroine gets the drop on the bad guy chasing them, hits them over the head with something, and they fall down. Oh. And instead of, getting full mount and dropping elbows, they just go, ah, and they continue to run away, giving the bad guy or the monster or whatever chance to get their senses back, get back on their feet and chase them again. And that happens in this Scream 6 movie like 4 times. Like 4 times. And that is something that totally drives me nuts. It totally drives me nuts. Totally drives me nuts. I mean, that's not as unrealistic as somebody getting stabbed in the gut 5 times and 5 minutes later going, oh no, I'm good. That part drives me crazy. Still, overall, good fun film. I enjoyed it. All right. Next up, Josh Becker writes, as a big Star Wars fan and a big lover of Andor, the newest season of Mando isn't doing much for me. I think soon the show will start to wear people out, considering the lack of conversion around the new season, conversation, I think you probably meant, around the new season of Mando. Here's the thing, and I want to be very careful because people get very, 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 sensitive about shows they like, and we all do it. So I want to be very, very careful when I say this. I love The Mandalorian. Like, I love this show. Even last season, do you guys remember? Were you watching me last year? Through the first half of Mandalorian season 2, a lot of people are going, this season isn't very good. This season isn't very good. And I'm like, I'm loving this show. This is great. Like the ice spiders are stupid. I loved the ice spiders episode. I thought it was great. And then all of a sudden, at the end of Mandalorian season 2, Luke shows up and everybody's, this show is fantastic. I'm like, where were you the whole entire rest of the season saying this season sucked? But now that Luke shows up for 5 minutes, it's the greatest show. Anyway, I love this show. I think it's great. Okay. That said, when Andor came out, see, Mandalorian is great for Star Wars. Andor is just great. Let me say that again. Mandalorian is great for a Star Wars show. Andor is just plain great. And I found that coming into Mandalorian season 3, I've been spoiled a little bit because Andor was so fucking good. Like, not just good for Star Wars, good as in one of the single best things on television. And that's like, I remember after I watched Andor and I said, this feels like an HBO show. Like, this is a different level. And I've started saying since that Mandalorian is a great example of how fun Star Wars can be, but Andor is a great example of how great Star Wars can be. And suddenly now that I've seen Andor, and granted, we're only 2 episodes into Mandalorian season 3, but it doesn't shine. Mandalorian doesn't shine quite as much as it did to me before seeing Andor. Now that's just me. It's all going to be, it's all subjective, right? Like there are going to be some people that totally prefer Mandalorian over Andor. Totally cool. But I really did quite like the last week's episode of Mandalorian. The first half was like, really, did we have to go back to Tatooine again? And really, you made such a big deal out of needing IG-11, but you're like, whatever, that didn't work. I'll just take this R5 unit. It didn't matter. Like, and then so many member berries and whatever, but who didn't like the Babu Freaks? I did. I like them a lot. Anyway, so, but last week's episode ended really strong. Like when they got to Mandalore and all that kind of stuff, and seeing the ruined cities and all that kind of stuff. And then the Mantisaurus, what did they call the thing? What's the name of the big mythological creature that they see under the water? The Manticore, the Mantisaurus, the I don't know, the Dino Burger, whatever it was. And that was like the Mythosaur. Is it really Mythosaur? Mythosaur? Man, that's as bad as unobtainium. I thought it was like the Mantosaur. Okay, the Mythosaur. Like when we saw that thing, I was like, oh, damn. Like, so I got to tell you, I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you, I was pretty excited about tonight. I am pretty excited about tonight's episode. For me, it's tonight. For many of you, it's tomorrow morning. For me, tonight at midnight. Can't wait. I think it's going to be great. All right, let's keep going here. Next up, we have, that was Josh Becker. We have, hey, what's up? Hello, writes. Feige has stated in several interviews that Ms. Marvel will steal the show in the Marvels. No surprise when you have Iman's charisma. That's Iman Milani, good Canadian kid, by the way, who plays Ms. Marvel. After the Marvels, do you see Kamala, my favorite MCU character, playing a bigger role in the franchise? Thanks. All right, so I am one of those people. Not everybody watched Ms. Marvel, which I don't know what kind of life choices you're making if you weren't watching Ms. Marvel. It is in a disappointing MCU Phase 4. Ms. Marvel was one of the very, very big bright spots. And Phase 4 had a number of bright spots, like Shang-Chi, obviously WandaVision, but Ms. Marvel was one of those big, big bright spots in an otherwise disappointing Marvel Phase 4. And I cannot wait to see more of this character. Now, how big of a role do I see her playing in the MCU after the Marvels? I can't say until I see the Marvels. Like I know Kevin Feige has said that she really shines in it, and that's great. Can't wait for November to get here so I can watch it because I love Ms. Marvel. I love Captain Marvel too, so we'll see. But I think seeing the Marvels will give us a much better idea about where and how big of a place she has in the MCU moving forward. All right, thanks a lot for that. Hey, what's up? Okay, next up, we got Robbie Riaz, who writes, one of two. I'm very hyped for the future of DC, me too, brother, with James Gunn. Growing up, I read a lot of Marvel, didn't care much for DC. Now I'm reading all the comics based on the slate of movies and watching the Justice League cartoon. I'm now a big fan of Superman, a hero I thought was boring. The mythology of the others in-universe characters, I doubt James Gunn will disappoint. Here's the thing. James Gunn is as capable of disappointing us as anybody else. As anybody else. James Gunn can absolutely disappoint us as much as anybody else has. But what are the odds that he's going to disappoint us? And what are the chances, I would say, that he's going to come through and deliver for us? When you consider, like even before he did Guardians of the Galaxy, he's done a couple of killer films, and my favorite film of his still remains to this day. You guys have heard me talk about this. My favorite film of his to this day remains Slither. I love Slither. Love that movie. By the way, just that's me. And then the guy whose head is to our back, that's Kevin Feige. Obviously, you recognize Chris Pratt there, and that's James Gunn. And I've had a chance to meet with and chat with James Gunn on several occasions. I'm a huge fan of his. So then what did he do once he got into the MCU? Well, he gave us Guardians of the Galaxy, which I loved. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which I liked a lot. I didn't love it as much as the first one. Then he goes over to DC and he makes an incredible Suicide Squad movie. Then he follows that up with a show that I thought was a stupid idea. Peacemaker. What an idiot decision that was to make that show. That's stupid. No one is going to care and no one's going to watch a Peacemaker show. How stupid can you be? Oh, look, it just ended up being one of the best things on TV that year and was like the #1 show in the world for months. Oh, well, nothing big, just like one of the best things on TV. And now I cannot wait to see more of that. And then he did the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Again, I had no interest in some stupid one-shot holiday special. The Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special has replaced Frosty the Snowman as my #1 favorite Christmas special. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. And I didn't even care about it. I didn't care about it. I thought it looked dumb. And it is now my favorite holiday special. More than Frosty the Snowman. More than Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I love that Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. I really love it. This guy is a comic fanatic in his DNA all the way from birth. Kevin Feige himself selected him to kind of be his right-hand man to oversee the MCU's galactic kind of thing. Obviously, that fell off the rails because of all the Twitter stuff, but I have no reason not to have a lot of faith. Now, again, doesn't matter how much faith I have in James Gunn. Everybody can crap the bed. Everybody. And that includes James Gunn. And maybe this whole DC experiment won't work. It's possible. It's absolutely possible. But I think the chances are very high that he's going to do something really special. And I'm saying that even after he got rid of my beloved Henry. And if you can get rid of my beloved Henry and still have me believing in you, you must be doing something right. So yeah, there's that. All right, let's keep things going here. Thanks a lot for that, Robbie. All right, next up, Carter writes, I just got my tickets to see Return of the Jedi with live orchestra at the Hollywood Bowl. So excited, dude. I love going to the live concerts at the Hollywood Bowl. For those of you who don't know what they do, and they do this around the world too. It's not just at the Hollywood Bowl, but at the Hollywood Bowl, what they'll do is often they'll get a big movie, like Return of the Jedi, and they'll play the movie on the big screens with the music tracks taken out. And then they have a live orchestra on stage that plays the music live along with the movie that you're watching. It's a fantastic experience. It's really, really good. And if you get a chance to do that, I highly recommend you do. And I think you're going to have a great time with that, Carter. All right. Robbie Riaz writes in again. P.S. I'm falling out of love with Marvel, but I'm hopeful it gets back on track in terms of quality eventually. Yeah, you know, I said something on the show the other day that a lot of people kind of jumped on. I said, the MCU has lost its magic. Now, some people misinterpreted that as saying, John says Marvel sucks now. No, I didn't say it sucks now. They still have some good stuff. Some of the stuff sucks, but some of the stuff is still quite good. By magic, I meant, and I said this at the time, Marvel had this magic. Do you know how hard it is to make one good movie? It's really hard just to make one really good movie. Marvel went over a decade and like 20 films where it was hit after hit after hit after hit, a hit with the audiences, a hit with the critics, a hit at the box office, hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. Hollywood has never seen anything like that kind of streak of success. Never seen that kind of streak of success. It was crazy. It was magic. It was magic that every time you went, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, that every time I was going to the movie theater to see a new Marvel project, I just knew that I was going to have an amazing time because they had that, say it with me, magic. They had the magic. That magic is gone in the sense that now, when I sit down to watch a new Marvel project, whether it's on my television or it's on the big screen, I don't know if I'm going to have a great time or not. Sometimes I will, like Shang-Chi, WandaVision, Ms. Marvel, stuff like that. But sometimes I won't. Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, right? So now it's kind of a coin toss. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. So it's kind of like now a new Marvel project is like any other project. Maybe I'll love it, maybe I won't. The magic's gone. That magic of, I know that when I go to see and sit down and watch this new Marvel thing, I know it's going to be great. I don't know that anymore. I just don't know that anymore. Now, the magic can be recaptured. And it's crazy how fast you can recapture it. You can, if Guardians of the Galaxy 3 comes out and it's on par with other James Gunn stuff, all of a sudden the MCU is going to feel pretty damn magical again. Right? If the Marvels comes out and is a great banger, Fantastic Four, they kill it, all this stuff. Secret Invasion. I know a few things about Secret Invasion, but Secret Invasion, if it's killer, listen, the magic can be recaptured. But yeah, I stand by it. That magic of everything every time is always awesome. That magic is no longer true. It's no longer there. All right. Thanks a lot for that, Robbie. Next up, Adit writes, March 3rd was my birthday. Happy belated birthday to you, my friend. And I rented a private AMC theater, nice, at the one I work at. We watched my favorite movie of all time, Top Gun Maverick, which I've now seen 19 times. I think you wrote into the show this morning. Glad to see it win Best Sound at the Oscars. Yeah, listen, I'll tell you what, we had a bunch of people over the other night watching the Oscars and Last of Us on the same night. And when Top Gun Maverick won that Oscar for Best Sound, there was a whole lot of cheering in my house. Mostly being led by Ray. Ray was the one leading the cheers for Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, it was good to see it. Top Gun Maverick is officially an Academy Award winning movie. I mean, not Best Picture, granted, but still, and the sound design of that movie was fantastic. Anyway, happy belated birthday to you, my friend. I'm glad you had a good time, man. All right. Next up, we have Christopher Rodasso, who writes, if you had a choice of seeing Ke Huy Quan return as in one of his original roles, which would you choose? Data or Short Round? Let's see. Okay. There are two separate questions. They just got bumped out. I'll do Ahmed's in a second. Well, really, that comes down to being a question of, do I want to see him in an Indiana Jones film, or would I love to see the adult Goonies reassemble? I'm getting the Indiana Jones film. So while it would be really fun to see him return as Short Round in that, I'm still getting an Indiana Jones movie. I would get a big kick out of seeing the Goonies come back. Like all the adult version of the Goonies come back. Get Josh Brolin in there, all that kind of stuff. So I would say Data, however you pronounce it, as in Goonies. That's the one I would go for. All right. Ahmed Z writes, hey, John, I wish you wouldn't retire, but nonetheless, I want what's best for you. Well, thank you so much for that. What Ahmed is referring to is that, I am not, let's be clear here. I am not retiring anytime immediately soon. Okay. We're not going to get to Christmas time and I'm going to announce my retirement. No. What I am doing though, now listen, I have always known that I want to retire early because I don't want to retire, when I'm too old to do a lot of the things that I want to do. I want to retire young so I can do a lot of the things that I want to do. I want to spend a lot of time in Canada. I want to travel. Ann and I both want to work with a lot of nonprofits and a lot of charitable organizations, and we want to set some things up. We've already started working on that, as a matter of fact, and a number of other things. So what I have done now, though, is that I am now at the place in my career that I am saying, okay, now is the time to start planning for getting to that retirement and kind of picking where I want my retirement to happen and what I need to do between now and then to make that a reality. And again, it's not going to be in 2023. It's probably not even going to be in 2024. There is a chance that I will still be doing this when Superman Legacy comes out, when the new DC Superman movie comes out. So it's not going to be anytime soon. Like it's not in the immediate future, but I've just started planning for it, because damn it, I've earned it. I've earned it. All right. I have worked, listen, going all the way back in my career, whether I was working road construction, whether I was, working in law firms, whether I was working at a visual effects company, whether I was working doing this. And then for the last 17 years working at an online film kind of thing, building AMC, building Collider Movie Talk, building my own thing, putting in the hours that I put in and all that kind of nonsense, basically building an online industry where 1,000 people out there try to copy everything that I do. All that being said, I didn't say that with any bitterness, did I? Because I certainly didn't mean to, but I've earned it. I've earned an early retirement, but again, it is not coming anytime immediately. I still got a bunch of things I want to do still, and I want to accomplish. And yeah, and don't worry, I'll let you guys know when I'd say this, when I'm getting to within 1 year of when I'm going to retire, I will let you guys know. Like one of these days, maybe a year and a half from now, whatever, I'll say, hey guys, just, you know, Ann and I have reached a decision. 1 year from today, I'm going to retire. Like I'll let everybody know well in advance, but yeah, there you go. But thank you for that, Ahmed. I appreciate that, man. All right. Let's see. Next up, we have Joe Cool, who writes, yay for mailbag. Little Shop of Horrors is my favorite movie/musical. Was cautiously optimistic when the remake with Taron Egerton, Scarlett Johansson, and Chris Evans was announced. Has there been any news on the film? Is it even in production? I will tell you what, I don't even, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, there is a chance it's already wrapped production, and there is a chance the whole project's been shelved. I honestly don't know. I have not heard a single thing. I have not heard a single thing about that production. Not a single thing. I've not heard that they nailed down a director. I've not heard that they went into production. I've not heard any of it. So for all I know, the film's been shot. And for all I know, they abandoned it. I'm going to sneeze in a second. But, pardon me. Yeah, so that's a great question, Joe. And listen, as soon as we find out more, we'll talk about it on the show. We'll totally talk about it more on the show. Thanks for writing that in, Joe. Next up, we've got Jose Garcia, who writes, more MMA GOAT talk. There is only one answer to who the MMA GOAT is. It's Khabib Nurmagomedov. There is no other valid answer. I hear your argument for Khabib having a near perfect style, but I disagree with you in that he cleared out his division. He still had big names in Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira had not earned any kind of a title shot and was not high enough in the rankings by the time Khabib was still around to actually be in that conversation. So you can take that name off the list. Tony Ferguson is a shell of what he used to be. He never earned a shot against Khabib. So you can take that name off the list. And Beneil Dariush, listen, I like him a lot, but he was never going to be any competition for Nurmagomedov. Come on. That's not including the, maybe you missed one. Anyway, don't want to seem like I'm a Jones nut hugger or that the MMA GOAT talk even really matters. End of the day, it's just two half-naked people punching each other, and Jones is a piece of trash of a human being. I just like arguing MMA. Hey, listen, I love MMA talk. But again, at the end of the day, it's just this simple. Jon Bones Jones lost. And I'm not talking about his disqualification loss against Matt when he was stupidly dropping north-south elbows. Like, I'm not even talking about the disqualification loss. I'm talking about I believe it was his last defense of the light heavyweight title. He lost that fight. The judges gave it to him, but I don't care. He lost that fight. You go all the way back to his fight against Gustafsson. And guess what? He won that fight. I will give Jon Jones that fight because he turned around. He got that late takedown in the final round. I would agree with the judges that Jones won that fight. But Gustafsson took him to within an inch of beating him. And what did he do after that? Nothing. He wasn't actually even all that good. Gustafsson wasn't even all that good. And then there was the fight against Alves. I want to say Alves. You know, the dude with the Thor hammer tattooed on his chest. Why am I freezing on his name? At any rate, that dude broke his hand in that fight and still took it to Jon. Now, Jon won that fight. But here's the thing. When you compare that to Khabib Nurmagomedov, who in his entire career, Thiago, thank you, man, who in the span of his entire career, nobody came close. You go through every one of the Eagles' fights, Nurmagomedov's fights, he was never once in his entire career, even for a moment, in trouble in the ring. There are some who argue that maybe Conor McGregor might have won one of the rounds in his fight against Khabib. I don't agree with that whatsoever. But even if you wanted to say that, the absolute most you can say about the dominance of Nurmagomedov is that maybe once there was a guy who might have won one round against him. Jon Bones Jones has lost a lot of rounds. Again, all due respect to Jon Bones Jones. He's great. He is great. But there's no debate. The GOAT is not even my beloved good Canadian kid, George St. Pierre. The GOAT is Nurmagomedov. There's no argument. There's no argument. One guy has lost and came close to losing many times. The other guy just blew everybody away and finished his career undefeated. I mean, it's not close. Anyway, all right, thanks, Jose. And I'm with you, brother. I love discussing and talking MMA anytime I get a chance. All right, Frank Rizzo writes, you left a comment the other day arguing why Khabib and more MMA is the most dominant, but not the GOAT. Oh, he is the GOAT. I said it's Jon Bones Jones, GSP, Anderson Silva. Did you see how easily Jones beat Gagne? That doesn't mean anything, and I'll tell you why in a second. Granted, not a grappler, but if he beats Stipe Miocic, there is no question anymore. Yes or no? No. First of all, I said going into the fight against Gagne has been exposed. He can't handle grapplers. He simply can't. Jon Bones Jones is an excellent grappler. Excellent grappler. There was no path to victory for Gagne in that fight. There just wasn't. And as far as Stipe, how long is it? Stipe, first of all, how old is Stipe now? Let me just double check this quickly. How old is Stipe Miocic? He's 40 years old and hasn't fought in a year and a half? He's 40 and hasn't fought in a year and a half. He's going to beat Stipe Miocic. A lot of guys in the heavyweight division will beat Stipe Miocic. And I love Stipe Miocic. Don't get me wrong. I love him. He's great. But that's not a real fight. Listen, there's a reason why Jon Bones Jones waited until he knew Francis Ngannou wasn't going to be in there anymore. There's a reason he waited. Because Francis Ngannou would take his head off. I'm calling it right now. Francis Ngannou would rip Jon Bones Jones's head off. Because Jon Bones Jones gets hit a lot. That's one of the big strikes against him. That's why guys like Gustafsson and a few others have been able to go toe-to-toe and actually give Jon Bones Jones serious runs for his money, even beating him. It's because Jon's defense is not world-class. There's a lot about his game that is world-class. His defense is not. And he gets hit a lot. And when Francis Ngannou hits him, he's going nappy time. He's going sleep time when Francis Ngannou hits him. And there's a reason why Jon Jones waited and waited and waited and waited till he knew that Francis wasn't going to be there anymore. That's why he went out there. Francis would take his head off. I'm going to tell you right now, Stipe is not going to be a challenge for Jon Bones Jones. Stipe is not going to be a challenge for a lot of the heavyweights right now. He's in his 40s. He's going to have a ton of ring rust. It's just, he hasn't stayed active. It just is what it is. But yeah, that fight won't mean much. What will mean a lot is if Ngannou comes back and he can beat Ngannou. That would be different, but I don't see it happening. All right. Thanks for that, Frank. Appreciate it, brother. All right. Anonymous viewer writes, John, congrats on nailing Best Picture at the Oscars exactly 1 year ago. Did I call Everything Everywhere All once a year ago? I think I probably did. What did you think of Kimmel's monologue? I thought it would hit harder, and it just never did it for me. The filthiest. I actually really like Kimmel's monologue. Now, it didn't leave me rolling on the ground laughing hysterically, but I was giggling a lot. I thought it was a very solid, very safe, but just a tight, good, solid monologue. I thought it introed the Oscars very well. I was wondering if they would tiptoe around the Will Smith slap thing, but he went right at it. And so, yeah, I actually quite liked his monologue. Not the best monologue there. And it doesn't compare to Steve Martin's monologue or anything like that, but I thought it was quite good. I thought it was pretty good. All right. Next up, we got Calum who writes, "Hey, John, have you seen the From season 2 trailer? It looks more scarier than the last season. This show has gone under so many people's radars. It's awesome." I'm going to tell you what, to prove your point, I can't even, what was From again? Help me out in line. I don't even remember what From is. What was From? I'll wait to see if anybody says anything. I honestly don't remember what it was. What show was it? What was it about? Michael Gonzalez is saying he's never heard of it. Okay. That, Awandi is also saying he's never heard of it. Kokar says, and it's, wait. Epic's Horror Series. Is that the one where they're in the town and they can't get out? And it's got the guy from Oz, the guy from Oz is the lead guy of it. Is that the one we're talking about where they get into the town and then they discover there's no way out of the town? Okay. Oh, okay. I feel terrible that I forgot the name of the show. I loved From. I loved it. I don't know how they're going to bring this show to a conclusion, because a lot of times you get these shows with these great premises and then they really kind of fart on the ending, like Lost did. Quite frankly, Lost farted the ending. When you actually get to the end and figure out what the big thing was. What's the big thing, right? And I liked Lost. Overall, I liked Lost, but they did fart on the ending. Oh yeah, Harold Perrineau. Thank you. Yes, that's him. Love him. He's great. From is really good. As a matter of fact, and I'll full transparency, I actually got paid by Epix. Epix actually paid me to promote the show. Now, they never paid me to review it. They paid me to promote it. And I did. I promoted it on Twitter. I did all the stuff I was supposed to do. They did not pay me to promote it. Because one of the things I told them is straight up, if I don't like this show, I'm not going to say I like the show. Like, I won't go around and crap talk the show, but if I don't like the show, I'm not going to fake it and say I like the show. They're like, no, we don't expect you. We just, promote the show. Fine. So I did. And quite frankly, they paid me a lot of money to do it. Hey, I'm being open. I'm being totally transparent with you. They paid me a lot of money to promote it. They didn't pay me to say I liked it. I loved the show. I really did. I liked it a lot. And again, full transparency, they gave me a lot of money, but they did not give me money to say I liked it. And even if they did, my contract with them is long over now. I could tell you if I really loved it. It was really, really good. I just totally forgot the name of it was From. I'll be honest with you. You guys are telling me that's the show. I don't even remember the name of it being From, but whatever. That's the show. I loved it. I thought it was great. All right. Let's move on here. Next up. And yes, it is flying under people's radars. You should check it out if you get a chance. It's really quite good. All right. Jason Love writes, John, you perhaps covered this in your after show. Now that The Last of Us is over, do you think episode 3 should have still been an entire episode devoted to Bill and Frank? Or do you think a little more time with Joel and Ellie at that early point would have helped bring on the filthy? No, they absolutely should have done it the way they did it. Yep. The show, they already knew, because they had their scripts, they already knew we were going to be plenty invested in Joel and Ellie by the time we needed to, and we were plenty invested in Joel and Ellie. That episode 3 could be a top 5 greatest episodes of television in history. And I mean that with no hyperbole. My all-time favorite episode of television is the second Exodus from Battlestar Galactica. I think that is the best episode of TV of all time. But at any rate, I think that episode, Bill and Frank, episode 3, is one of the greatest episodes of television ever. And yeah, I don't think they should have changed a thing, to be honest with you, Jason. I don't think they should have changed a thing. I loved it. All right. Next up, Logan Astrup writes, how do you think the box office will look for the month of June? I don't even know what's coming out in June off the top of my head. I'm not good with movie dates. There's a blockbuster coming out almost every week. Each movie will have 1 week in the spotlight until the next blockbuster comes out the following weekend. I have no idea what's coming out. Let me go over to Box Office Mojo for a second here and pull up the release calendar. All right, we'll go to June. All right, what do we got here? Are you guys even going to be able to see this? Not really. You're not going to be able to see it much. All right, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Super excited about that. Let's see. Then we got so June 2nd, we got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Then the next week on June 9th, we got Transformers Rise of the Beasts and Strays. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that a lot. I think Strays is going to be really fun. That's the dog movie with Will Ferrell. And so those are both coming out the same week. That's terrific. Then we've got Hairspray. That's going to be limited though. The Flash is coming out the following week on June 16th. I'm going to see that in like 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks. I'm going to go see Flash at CinemaCon. So I'm very excited about that. Then there's a movie called The Blackening. I'm not really sure what that is. On June 23rd, we have a Tom Hanks, Margot Robbie, Bryan Cranston movie called Asteroid City, which I'm not familiar with. Plus that new comedy with Jennifer Lawrence called No Hard Feelings. We talked about the trailer for that the other day. That looks great. That looks really, really good. Let's see here. Then on June 30th, we got Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Yeah, that's a pretty damn good month. I think the box office is going to be bonkers. Listen, the box office for March has been great. Well, we've had Creed come out, that set a franchise record. We had Scream come out, that set a franchise record. Doesn't look like Shazam 2 is going to be setting any franchise records, but that's just following along with the struggles that the DCU has had, and people wonder why James Gunn is rebooting it. John Wick is on pace to set a franchise record. I think Dungeons and Dragons, I think, is going to do really well. Don't get me wrong, Dungeons and Dragons isn't going to open to like $150 million or anything, but I think it's going to do well. So if March is any indication, yeah, I think June is going to be really good. I think June's going to be really good. All right, let's keep going on here. Next up, we got Dan Whitehead, who writes, do you think the Daniels, masters of the multiverse film, are being looked at by Marvel to potentially direct Secret Wars? And would you be interested in seeing that? Well, we actually talked about, somebody called that in on the Mint Mobile hotline on the show today. I do not think that it's going to happen, just to be clear, but I would be totally down for it. Of course. I mean, these guys just are now the Academy Award winning writers, the Academy Award winning directors, and they directed and wrote the best picture of the year that just so happened to be a multiverse movie. And Marvel right now is doing something they call the multiverse saga. Combine that with the struggles Marvel has been having, particularly with their writing, and these guys are now Oscar winning writers. Yeah, I'd be totally down for seeing it, but I do not think it's going to happen again. If you want to hear more of our thoughts on that, we talked about it pretty at length on the John Campea Show a little bit earlier today. All right, thanks for that, Dan. Next up, we've got Chuck the Mystery, who writes, hey, John, question about season 5 of Yellowstone. So season 1 was a great setup for the characters. 2 through 4 were essentially The Godfather, which I loved. I often call Yellowstone The Godfather on horses. But 5 feels like a slow burn, politics so far, and has been my least favorite. Your thoughts, thanks. I'm not going to lie to you. I've really liked this season. I've really liked it. And I think there's a twist coming. I'm going to give you my prediction, right? I'm probably wrong. I'm going to give you my prediction. So for those of you watching Yellowstone, you know that it looks like Jamie is trying to have Beth killed. And Beth, the season ends with her talking to her father about having Jamie killed. And when Beth says to her dad, to Kevin Costner, I think Jamie maybe should be taken to the train station. That's cowboy code for murder them. Then, for those of you who watch Yellowstone, what happens? When she says maybe Jamie needs to be taken to the train station, what happens? I'll tell you what happens in the shot. The camera shifts from being right there with Kevin Costner and Beth to a camera up at the top of the stairs, pointing down at distance to Beth and Kevin Costner sitting on a couch talking to each other. And you can see that Kevin Costner's character is replying to her and talking to her, but there's no sound. We don't hear the conversation. We don't know what he's saying. Here's my way out there in left field prediction. My prediction is Kevin Costner is now telling her that he and Jamie are actually in it together, that they are in on it together, that they are together pulling something off. And for it to look that way, they need to make it look like they are at each other's throats and they're doing. I think what they're really doing is setting up the girl that Jamie is sleeping with from the corporation. I think they're working together to screw her and the corporation she's with. That's just my guess. That's just my guess. I could be totally wrong, but that is my guess. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I've been liking the season so far. All right. An anonymous viewer tips in $20. Thank you, Anonymous, who writes, John, thank you for returning to mailbag. Again, we're still calling it open mic, but we are doing it mailbag format. Thank you for returning to mailbag. It can be tough to send in only at specific times. Now, listen, you guys told me that you wanted this back. I have listened. We have brought it back. And, for people who prefer live questions, we still keep the live questions as a part of the John Campea Show. So we're trying to make it a best of both worlds. If you like the live sending in questions aspect, we still have it on the John Campea Show with our Super Chat segment. If you like the ability to send in questions anytime 24/7, that's what the mailbag format is for on Open Mic. So thank you for supporting us on that level. And hopefully this works for you guys. And if it ever doesn't work, let me know. And we can always look at making more changes again. All right. Robert A. Davidson writes, would you still do occasional live streams when you are retired just because, like one every few months? You know what's funny? Ann and I were on our evening walk. We go on a big, long walk every night, most nights. And she was kind of asking me the same thing. She's like, are you really going to not do anything? I said, well, okay, look, here's what will probably happen. When I retire, what will probably happen is I will probably do a weekly podcast. I think because I think I'll still want to be, I think I'll still have a little bit of the itch to still like for instance, once I see a new Batman movie or a new Avengers movie or something, I'm going to be like, oh, I got to talk about this, right? So what I'll probably do is a weekly podcast. Something that, is really easy for me to do. I don't have to stick to a schedule. I can record the podcast any day that week as long as I put it out every Tuesday or whatever, right? So I think I will probably do a weekly podcast. Again, I don't know that for sure, but that is my guess. All right, guys, listen, we still got a few questions to go here, but we're going to take just a quick break for just a minute. I'm going to go refill my drink, and we're going to thank the sponsor of this episode of Open Mic, the aforementioned Ryan Reynolds, who I was just crapping over a bunch of his movies, but he's my favorite Canadian kid. Our friend Ryan Reynolds and his company, the great folks at Mint Mobile. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2023, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for your phone bill? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know I made the switch over to Mint Mobile a while ago. The process couldn't have been easier, and I can't believe that I am spending less than a third of what I was spending on one of the other major carriers before. By going online only and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily in minutes with eSIM. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of Open Mic. And listen, guys, just pure straight up honesty. Mint Mobile is my mobile service provider. And I mean this with all sincerity, even though if you go and sign up for Mint Mobile, I will financially benefit. I've been putting that on the table. I'm just being totally transparent. But that aside, guys, if you're not on Mint Mobile, what are you doing? It's $15 a month. Do you know how much I was spending for phones? I can only imagine what you're spending for phone service. Go sign up. It's great. It's a double win. For you, you're going to get great mobile service and you're going to be paying like $15 a month for it. Or like at most like 30 if you want the big Uber plan. But believe me, $15 a month is good for everybody. But for me, It'll make Ryan Reynolds see, hey, sponsoring the John Campea Show actually works for us. We're going to keep doing it. Actually, it already does work really well from that. That's why they signed up to be our sponsor for the entire year of 2023. So thank you, Ryan, for doing that. But yeah, go and check out Mint Mobile. All right. With that salesmanship of me out of the way, let's keep going on with more questions here. All right. Next up comes to us from Garden Variety Vagabond. Good to hear from you, Garden Variety, who writes, I believe that Joel was a modern soldier based on his movement during the Last of Us episode. As a soldier, I hate when combat movements look untrained. World War II soldiers did not have the same trained movements as today. Listen, I know I had this big debate and discussion with people, and maybe I was wrong. Maybe I need to go back and watch it again. But I thought it was very clearly implied that both Joel and Tommy were soldiers, retired soldiers, now working as contractors. But I thought it was pretty clear that it was. And a lot of people said to me, no, only Tommy was a soldier. Only Tommy was a soldier. I'm like, I don't know, man. Everything I see in the show makes it pretty clear that he was a trained soldier. And yeah. And he had his bumper sticker on his truck. Then some people said to me, it was Tommy. Listen, everything in this show screams to me that he's trained military. So I'm going to go with that in my head canon until I'm proved wrong, which maybe I am wrong. Whatever. All right. Thanks for that, Garden Variety. Next up, Alan Renshaw writes, Black Panther / Wakanda was a big part of Infinity War. Since Fantastic Four is the movie right before Kang Dynasty, is it likely they play a huge role like Black Panther did? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, listen, it played a part in it, but Black Panther and Wakanda was not exactly the major player of Infinity War. It was significant. They certainly went to Wakanda and all that kind of stuff. And I definitely believe that Fantastic Four are going to play a role in Kang Dynasty. How big or how small, I'm not sure. And how much that will be dependent upon the proximity of Fantastic Four coming out in relation to Kang Dynasty, I'm not 100% sure. So it's possible. Let's say it's possible. But I also feel like you may want to let them breathe a little bit. But we'll find out. I'm very excited about Fantastic Four coming into the MCU, so we'll see how that all plays out. Thanks a lot, Alan. All right, next up. Michael Jones, dear heavens, tip $50. Thank you, Michael, for supporting our channel on that level, man. That's incredibly generous. It's incredibly generous of you. Thank you, man. And Michael Jones writes, this past Friday, Box Office Pro lowered their prediction for Shazam to 32 to 40 million. I've heard a few people saying as low as 20 million. Do you have a prediction for Shazam 2 opening weekend? Man, it breaks my heart because I love the first Shazam. I love that movie. I think that movie is one of the best DCU films. I think it's the third best DCU film. I think the best, obviously, is Man of Steel. I think the second best is James Gunn's Suicide Squad. And I think the third best was Shazam. I think Shazam was the third best film. Wonder Woman's up there. Aquaman is up there. Batman versus Superman for me is up there. But I think Shazam, I love that film. Love it. And I'm very excited about seeing the new one on Thursday night. But the reality is the DC universe has been run into the ground. And if you need any proof of that, just look at Black Adam. I mean, that movie came out, Black Adam, which I don't care what anybody else thinks. I personally thought that movie was pretty good. I didn't think it was great, but I thought that movie was pretty good. I enjoyed it. With the world's biggest movie star, and that movie couldn't get out of the $300 million range. It made over $300 million, couldn't get to $400 million. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The reality is the first Shazam didn't do great at the box office. Not a lot of people are excited clearly about the current slate of DC films until the new ones come from James Gunn. Tell you what, it's going to be really interesting to see what Aquaman does. I have no idea because the last Aquaman movie was $1 billion film. I don't know what this one's going to do. But yeah, I don't think it'll be as low as 20 million. But it's not going to be big. It's not going to be big. So I don't know, man. It doesn't look good. Does not look good. But I'm going to keep... Because listen, the reviews for Shazam 2 have been really solid. The reviews are quite good for Shazam 2. So All I know, Ann and I even ordered costumes. I'm not lying. Wait till you see my Out of the Theater review on Thursday night. Ann and I both ordered costumes. We're going to go in cosplay to go watch Shazam on Thursday night. Her Ms. Marvel costume showed up, and my Shazam costume showed up. Or I guess you would call Ms. Marvel now Ms. Shazam, I guess. But her costume showed up. Mine shows up tomorrow. Going to be doing it in costume. All right. Next up, hey, Michael Jones, again, thank you so much, man, for supporting our channel on that level. And yeah, I don't think it's going to be as high as 40, but I don't think it'll be as low as 20. It's going to be right in that window there somewhere, unfortunately, because it sounds like it deserves more than that. All right. Thank you again, Michael. Next up, Alan Renshaw writes, do you think we will ever see a crossover between Jurassic Park / Jurassic World and Fast franchise? No, never. Both owned by the same studio. Being honest, it would not surprise me one bit if Universal announced it. No, they'll never do that. I mean, in the strange world we live in, I could totally see it happening. But if we're being real, no, they'll never do it. And they know they'll never do it. And I think all of us know they'll never do it. Would I go see it? Yeah, I would probably go see it if they did it. But no, let's be honest. They're never going to do that, unfortunately, Alan. All right. Next up, Alan also writes, I liked Pacific Rim too. I'm glad you did. But had my issues. They took Mako Mori character and made her a diplomat when she was just a hero / pilot in the previous movie. They made it too colorful. 3, they took away the awe / wonder scale with the robots, kaiju, your thought. It was just not a good story. And it's really unfortunate because I love the director. Stephen S. DeKnight was the director of it. He did season 1 of Daredevil. He did Spartacus, which is one of my top 3 all-time favorite shows. I love him. I think he's great. But that movie was really quite bad. It just didn't have any of the magic that the first one did. I didn't mind the color palette or anything like that. I didn't mind the performances or anything like that, but yeah, it just did not work for me nearly as well as the first. Actually, it didn't work for me. It just didn't work for me. So, which is unfortunate. All right. Next up, Chef Rigo writes, Vanessa Hudgens. I love Vanessa Hudgens. Returning for Bad Boys 4 sounds great to me. Vanessa is starting to develop a career, and I could see her as a Zorana, probably meant Zatanna, Batgirl / Jessica Cruz, Green Lantern, or maybe even Supergirl if they don't keep Sasha Cale. Maybe even Sue Storm. I don't see her as a Sue Storm. Vanessa Hudgens is not starting to get a career. Like, Vanessa Hudgens has had a B-level career, high C, low B-level career for years. For years. Actually, if you guys remember, she starred in a show called Powerless, which a lot of people hated. And I think y'all are crazy. I thought Powerless was great. For those of you who don't know, Powerless was a show that imagined that, you know how in the world of DC, they had, what's the name of the, Star Labs. They have Star Labs, right? In the world of DC. Well, it imagined that there was a competitor to Star Labs, and the show Powerless was about all these people who just work at that Star Labs competitor. And none of them are superpowered. None of them are superheroes. And the person running that competitor, the boss, was Alan Tudyk playing Bruce Wayne's idiot younger cousin, Van Wayne. And Vanessa Hudgens was the lead star of the show. I don't care what anybody says. I don't give a crap about the critic ratings. I don't care what they said on Twitter about it. Powerless was a lot of fun. I really like that show. Anyway, she even had a small part, but a really interesting part in Tick Tick Boom, or as Snoop Dogg would say, Tick Tick Boom. She had that where she was singing the that one song with Andrew Garfield. You know the role she plays in it. She was great in that. She was in that one kind of John Wick kind of movie with why am I freezing on the name of the actor who was just in the last Harry Potter Fantastic Beasts? He replaced Johnny Depp, and he was Hannibal. What's that actor's name again? I'm looking at his face in my head, and for whatever, right now I'm kind of freezing on his name. Anyway, she was in a movie with him about 2 years ago, Mads Mikkelsen. Thank you, Berth. She was in a movie with Mads Mikkelsen, and I can't remember the name of the film, but where it's like he's like a John Wick character, only he's kind of retired and living off in the woods, but he comes across this girl, Polar. Thank you. Affair in the live chat said Polar. Nobody watched it. I actually quite liked it. I liked Polar. I thought it was fun. So she was in that. Like, so for a bunch of years, and she was in Sucker Punch. That Jamie Chung, my wife's sorority sister, and friends with my wife. Jamie Chung was one of the stars of Sucker Punch, as was Vanessa Hudgens. So yeah, it's like she's had this career, a working career, and she was just one of the hosts on the red carpet of the Oscars the other night. Did you guys notice that? Anyway, so it's not like she's just developing a career now. She's been around, and she's had a solid working career, but never getting into that high level B list or to the bottom level A list. But it's cool to see that she's still working, and yeah, Bad Boys for life, man. Bad Boys 4. All right. Let's see here. Next up, Constanza writes, any thoughts on Jesus Revolution? Seem to have a solid audience response. Listen, I don't like faith-based films at all, and I have no desire to ever watch them. And before you think there's any sort of an anti-Christian bias in that, for those of you who don't know, I went to theological seminary, and the place I developed my hatred of faith-based films was in Bible college and theological seminary, where me and all my friends in the Bible college and theological seminary, we all hated faith-based films because we just thought they sucked. It didn't matter that they had a message to them that we agreed with. Message doesn't make quality movies. Like, you can have a quality movie with a great message, but just because you have a great message in a movie does not make your movie good. And they almost all suck. So I have a particular dislike. Ever since my, seminary days, I have a particular dislike of faith-based films. So I have not seen it. I never will see it. So that's just me. All right. Not that I'm trying to dissuade anybody else from seeing it. If you like that stuff, that is awesome. That's the beauty of the subjectivity of film. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean you won't like it. Not at all. And if you like it, that's awesome. I celebrate that. But if I'm being honest, and I'm always honest with you, like, I've never liked these films, and I developed my dislike for them while I was in Bible college. So there's that. All right, next up. Let's see here. Alan S. writes, hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much. I read that the Super Mario Brothers movie is going to be streaming on Peacock 45 days after its theatrical release date. Can this affect the movie reaching the $1 billion club, even if it's amazing? Thanks. It could. I mean, like, listen, Universal is pretty hardcore with wanting to stick to a 45-day window. But it's their movie. So if Super Mario Brothers is good, and we don't know if it is, but it looks good. If Super Mario Brothers is good and it just rolls at the box office, I guarantee you they will push back that 45-day release window. They'll push it back. If they do not, I don't think it will be the determining factor as to whether or not the Super Mario Brothers movie hits the $1 billion club or not. Like, if it's really tight and really close, maybe. But if it's going to hit $1 billion, it'll hit $1 billion. Right now, until I see the movie, I am still predicting that I think that the Super Mario movies will be the #1 box office film of the year. I think it'll make more money than Fast 10. I think it'll make more money than Indiana Jones. Now, I may change my mind once I see it. Once I see it, I might go, yeah, this isn't as good as I was hoping it would be. It's not going to have the repeat viewing. It won't be that. But till I see it, my initial prediction is that it's going to be the #1 film of the year. And I don't think the 45-day window will affect it that much. And if it is making that much money, Universal will probably push it, but we'll see. All right, guys, listen. That's all the questions that we have from the mailbag side of it that you guys sent in. Once again, if you want to send in a question to be read on the next installment of Open Mic, go ahead and go to our tip link at streamelements.com/John Campea/tip. Leave it there and you'll see it on the next one. And remember, for those of you who sent in a question like within an hour or so of when we started the show and you didn't just see your question get answered, that's because we had already pulled all the questions in. But don't worry, Your question will be answered on the next installment. All right, now, before we finish off, guys, I'm going to go over to the live chat and see if see what you guys are saying in the live chat here. So Jedediah Elias is saying, but John, you have to admit that some faith-based films are getting better. American Underdog, I can only imagine, were solid. I don't have to admit that because I don't watch any of them. I can't say that they're getting better. I'm saying I can't say that they're getting better. I can also not say that they're getting worse because I don't watch them. So I have no idea. Dragon 10 writes in, hey John, I love the show. Thank you so much, Dragon 10. Glad to have you here, my friend. If you guys got a question you want me to answer, you got something to say, go do me a favor. If you got a question for me, type it out in the live chat in all capital letters so I know exactly what it is that you guys are asking me a question. So I'll give you a moment while I do that. Ice Ness is asking, what is your favorite movie of all time? Do I really need to answer that? Does anybody here not know what my favorite movie of all time is? I'll let somebody in the live chat answer that. Allison Hoffman is saying, how's your dog? Dogs. I have 2 dogs. They're both doing great. Thank you so much. Mind of Inception said, what's a must-watch movie? Well, there's hundreds of them, but I'll just go with Star Wars. Let's see here. The Hot Moms podcast writes, hey, John, do you have a fear Guardians of the 3 will let you down? I have a fear that any movie I'm looking forward to will let me down. Right? That's always there. Any movie that I am looking forward to comes with it a fear that it will let you down. Every movie that I look forward to. When I went in to see The Batman, I had a fear it was going to let me down. When I went in to see The Fabelmans, I had a fear it was going to let me down. When I went in to see Top Gun Maverick, I had a fear it was going to let me down. So yeah, any movie that I look forward to, obviously there's always, I hope for the best, but there's always a little bit of a fear that it'll let you down. Of course, anything you look forward to. Even like if you're going on if you're a straight heterosexual guy like me and you're going on a date with a super hot woman, yeah, you hope it goes well, but you have a fear that the date will go badly. You have a fear that you'll say something stupid. You'll have a fear that she'll say something stupid. I mean, whatever, right? Anything you look forward to carries with it the fear of being disappointed or let down. Let's see here. Young Midoriya writes, are you going to check out the British rom-com Rye Lane? Probably not. Never heard of it, so I probably won't check it out. Let's see. Lando is writing, who do you think will be more emotional in the MCU, Doom or Magneto? Well, I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking. Listen, my number one all-time favorite comic book character, not favorite Marvel character, not favorite hero character, not favorite villain character. My all-time favorite comic book character is Magneto. He's my all-time favorite character. I think he's a far more interesting character than Doctor Doom. I think he's the greatest comic book character of all time. I love that character. There's so much richness and depth and complexity to that character. So, but how they'll approach it, I don't know. I mean, it looks like they're going to be using Doctor Doom first, but where they go from there, I'm not really sure. Let's see here. Where are we at? Matt Mansiri saying short round spinoff franchise. No, you don't do something like that just because an actor gets hot. You don't just suddenly do something like that. So no, I don't think so. Let's see. Johnny writes, hey John, what are the chances that Disney completely reboots the MCU after Avengers Secret Wars? I think pretty minimal. I think unless Kevin Feige is, listen, I think there's a very good chance Kevin Feige leaves either once in Secret War is done or even before Secret War is done. Like I've said for a while, I don't think Kevin Feige is going to be around that much longer. I actually don't think he'll still be there by the time Secret Wars comes out. I don't think Kevin Feige is still going to be there by the time Secret Wars comes out. I think he'll be gone by then and moved on to his next challenge. And then they may reboot it. I'd say it's a 10% chance, though. I think it's 10% chance. Mega Chris is writing, John, do you think Indy 5 will surpass expectations? Well, it's hard to say that. What expectations? Because there's a lot of people out there right now who have zero expectations of Indy 5. right? Like everybody, there's still a lot of people that still have that bad taste of Indiana Jones 4 in their mouths. And they just don't believe that Indiana Jones 5 can be any good. And not to mention, there are a lot of people who don't have faith in Lucasfilm right now, right? But look, Indiana Jones 5 right now has one of the best directors in the world. The guy who directed Logan, the guy who directed Ford v Ferrari, the guy who, I mean, he's amazing, right? So I have a lot of faith it'll be good, but it depends when you say, will it exceed expectations? Whose expectations, right? Because there's a lot of differing levels of expectations surrounding that right now. So we'll see. All right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here and making this little show a part of your day. Appreciate having you guys here. Let me know what you guys thought about the format of us going back to using it mailbag format and that kind of stuff. And again, don't forget, if you do have questions for the next show, go ahead and submit them anytime 24/7 at stream, or if you just want to support the channel, go to streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip and send them in there. And we will of course get them in an open mic show. So guys, don't forget to come on back and join us. By the way, did you hear Quentin Tarantino? It's come out. The Hollywood Reporter has announced Quentin Tarantino's final film. It's going to be called The Movie Critic. Not lying. It's literally what it's going to be called. We're going to definitely talk about that on the show tomorrow. Make sure you guys come on back and join us. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those tip questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the channel. Thank you guys so much for that support. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.